Hi,
Hello.
Stuart. I hope you can see us and hear us.
Yeah, I can see you both fine. So how are you guys?
Well, very well. We're surviving, so out here in the wilderness.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. You guys are in the middle of Lugo, is it?
Yeah, more
South.
south of Lugo, in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere. Good. We'll get a little bit about your background. You are originally from Germany, am I right?
Yeah, correct. And then, due to work, I was allocated to the UK, and then it was temporary, and then we decided to stay there, or my bosses decided I stay there, and then we stayed there for nearly 20 years
In the UK.
in the UK, in
All right.
Kent.
And
Garden
Kent.
and
Sorry?
the Garden of England.
All right, good. Now that's relevant to the conversation because I've seen some of your videos there on the web page, and I see that you are a keen gardener.
Oh, yes, she is. I'm the slave. She is the gardener.
The slave and the gardener. All right, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Now, the interesting question here is why Galicia? Well, why Spain? Why Galicia? What was it that attracted you to the place in the first place? Let's say. I read a little bit of the bio, and it was a trip on Ryanair or something to Santiago, and then everything led from there.
Exactly. I was working for a reasonably well-known online travel agency in London. And then this Dublin-led airline approached me if I don't want to come on the inaugural flight from Stansted to Santiago. That's about 15 years ago. So for a token of €1 or £1 or something like that.
Penny.
And we said, yeah, why not? And let's look for a property we can rent, but not at the coast. We wanted to go inland. We went on the flight. We finally found the property after some looking and simply fell in love. And then came a couple of times on holiday. And yeah, and then we decided, well, midlife crisis is approaching. So why don't we do another change?
And what was it? What was it about Lugo specifically? Was it the countryside, the people, the food? I know there's a lot of things to throw at you there, but I'm sure that every one of those things has probably had something to do.
It's a bit of all of that. But first, when we approached specifically here Monforte de Lemos, which sits in a little valley, and you come towards it, you see the old monastery, and we had a beautiful backdrop of sunshine, and we thought, yeah, that area, that's brilliant. And then we discovered the canyons. We have the canyon of the Sill nearby with wines and all that. And yes, the people we approached were extremely friendly.
Yes, I would say so.
A little bit standoffish at the beginning, but once you start to know them and they know you and they introduce you, then doors open. It's just unbelievable.
So friendly people.
Yeah, when you know them. But our experience in the beginning, when we came into a bar or anything, and you could hear from the outside people chatting and everything, you open the door, nothing, just eyes staring at you.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we are past this stage, and so it's fine.
So how long's it been there now, living permanently?
13 years now.
13 years.
13 years, yes.
All right, good. And you also mentioned that you're in a part of Spain that is fairly underpopulated. Is that right?
That's completely right. Theoretically, our Concejo has about 2,200 inhabitants and had about 2 generations back, it had 10,000. So that tells you something about depopulation. And we are the second oldest in all Spain. So again, due to the crisis and other issues, it was depopulated and people just walked out. So there are a few civil servants and a few office jobs. And if you're an architect, it becomes very complicated.
Yeah.
The jobs are more in the other area, in Coruña, in Galicia, and the shipbuilding and
outside Spain.
Or outside Spain. Yeah. I mean, coming from Germany, we know that lots of young Spaniards are now in Germany.
Yeah, so it's completely back to front.
Yeah.
It's not improving, and although we're starting to have internet, when I came, we looked for an ADSL line with a house attached because I still had a business in the UK which I needed to run,
Okay.
and that wasn't easy. So nowadays with mobile, it's become a bit easier,
But still not.
but it's still far from ideal. So we are talking on a maximum of 5 megabits at the moment.
Oh, really? Okay, good. So
That's the good.
we could crash at any time.
Yeah.
That's it. That's one of the problems. That's right. Yeah. So not good internet connection. Probably you have trouble sometimes getting a mobile signal as well in some areas, I imagine, and that's one of the disadvantages for young people, I presume.
Yeah, but otherwise, on the other hand, it has advantages because life is relatively cheap out here. You got everything you might need.
Yeah, I think you get everything.
We have large gardens and we get a lot of produce from the garden, and so that makes life much easier.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry about going to the supermarket as often.
Exactly. And
Especially not now.
Specifically not now under the crisis, which is just fading out. So
yeah. Do you also change goods with other people? Like, for example, things that you grow there, maybe somebody has something else, like a chicken or something, and things like that, yeah?
Yes, we live in a very small aldea with 20 other people. And so someone has a chicken and I have the tomato plants or some other things. Yes, so we exchange all the time. Yeah. It's eggs, it's meat, and everything really. Yes.
And so the population's getting smaller. So what's the future then? Are there any plans in place to bring people there, or how's that going to work?
I think there are some plans, like, for example, that you can now be self-employed for the first 2 years with a subsidy. So if your village is under 5,000, then it's for 2 years, and it's at the moment around 60 euros. So that helps a bit because one needs at least 2 years to get anything going out here. Then obviously we're making a lot of wine. So the Ribera Sacra is starting to become very well known for wine, for good wine. Mm-hmm. That attracts quite some new young entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. We have some tourism business with young entrepreneurs, although that has been hit slightly at the moment.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it's easier to survive, to ride this out here than it is probably in the city because, I mean, we were not really affected by the whole thing.
No, that's right.
The bars have closed. You can't just go for a coffee and a beer, but
that is actually
and you can't read the newspaper anymore. You have to buy it, actually, which is a problem.
But that's the only thing that changed for us. I mean, we go shopping once a week. We can go out the house. We can meet the neighbors because, I mean, who wants to?
And you guys have set up a business or with tourist accommodation. Is that right?
Exactly. We shifted slowly from my IT origin into renovating houses and then starting to rent them out to tourists, and that worked quite well. Then there came a couple of legislation changes, and then, do I dare to talk about bureaucracy? Well, not really in Spain. But now we have 2 houses, and I'm just renovating another one.
So it has been a bit hard to get the paperwork done.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. It can take a while, and one has to have nerves of steel.
Especially when you come from England, where everything is so easy. And
yeah, that's it. Yeah, the bureaucracies do work differently. That is for sure.
I think that's the hardest bit for some people to get used to, because in England or in Germany as well, you tend to call someone and you get an answer. Here you call someone and you might be connected to someone else and then connected to someone else. And
never get an answer. Anyway.
Never get a straight answer, no. So what was the initial buying process like, the purchasing, to actually get the property in the first place? Because I mean, obviously you arrived. Did you go through a real estate, or was it directly with the person who was selling, or how does that work?
Yes and no. We organized quite a lot of viewings. So we looked at quite an amount of properties, because first of all, Galicia is not an established property market. Rural Galicia, cities is different, but rural, it's not an established market. So you have to look at quite a lot to see if it's actually worth the money people are asking. And then at that time, if you were a foreigner, the price would automatically go up.
Yeah.
So you had to start haggling. But once we settled and we used a couple of agencies, actually a little agency in the village here nearby. And once it was settled, we knew from beginning we wanted to ask that they have all the papers. So do you have a full escritura? And they said yes. And then we just used the notary, and we used an abogado for the first time.
The first one, yeah.
And it went through immediately rapid because we did this pre-contract where each one is in for 10%. So if you walk, you lose your 10%. If the seller walks, they have to pay you 10%. And we made some dates when we wanted to buy the property, and it just went through.
Okay, good.
But we know that there are issues with some properties as well. So suddenly there is one room which is owned by a brother that has been gone for 2 generations in Ecuador.
Yeah.
That makes it complicated.
Yeah, I know. I spent a bit of time in Galicia back in the day, and I remember there were lots of houses that were being built, and they seemed to take a long time to be built. You know, these were people that were living overseas, and they'd come back one summer and build the ground floor, then they'd come back another summer and build another floor, and it took a long time sometimes to build these properties that they had. And it always fascinated me that aspect of Galicia, because so many people from Galicia, the Gallegos, living in Switzerland, Germany, South America, all around the world.
Yes, they do.
But owning or doing property or doing property up here in rural Galicia is much easier because the cost associated with the property out here is ridiculously small compared to, for example, to the UK or Germany. So,
or even to the cities. Yeah.
Or even to the cities. It doesn't matter if you can't do it in 1 year or 2 years. You do it in year 3, no problem.
And the language skills, how long did it take you to become fluent in Spanish? Or Gallego, I don't know. Which language do you speak there?
Yeah, more or less fluent, yeah. But yes, it's our third language, and it takes a little bit because I think it's very difficult. I get along really well with everything. We can read everything. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to answer the right thing. You have to think too long to get the right answer. But no, it's fine. And I think you have to. I mean, we have to anyway, because we wanted to live the Spanish life. We didn't want to live in an expatriate circle. So we're here.
There are few and far foreigners in this area. So there are some, but not many. And yeah, it's Spanish. So they agree that we not necessarily need to learn complete Gallego because they understand it's complicated.
That makes it a little bit difficult here to speak Spanish because there's always some Gallego in between, and
they appreciate that we are trying. So that I think comes back. So as soon as you try, and okay, my grammatic is far from perfect, but at least they see I'm trying, and then that's fine. So.
Yeah, you can make yourself understood.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's definitely.
That's it. So you guys would recommend this type of life, would you, for people that are looking to come to Spain? Maybe something a bit different, rather than go to, as you said, those expat communities down on the coast where the majority of people seem to go, or a lot of Germans tend to go to the islands, the Canaries or Mallorca or somewhere like that. You'd recommend the type of life there?
It depends on the person, I would say, because
of course, yeah.
This here is really
it's not
rural,
easy. It is rural. So if you're happy with yourself, if you do not need total conversation every day, so total immerse, if you can, then it is fine. But you also need to have the financial means to, if you want to start something, or if you want to, like us, maybe get into a bit of tourism or whatever, you need to have the financial means to at least survive 2 years.
I can't imagine that you come here, look for a job, and live here. That I don't think would work.
No, you'd have to try to work remotely, right?
Yeah. That would help, or do some teaching of English, and stuff like that. That would work. You can go into a bit more into self-sufficiency and try your hand at winemaking, buy a vineyard if you want to. But again, you need some time. So you need financial means to survive at least a while without getting into financial stress.
Yeah, until your plan starts to get off the ground.
Yeah,
which can take a while.
and I think that's sometimes a mistake people make. We have seen people coming and moving away again because
really?
It can be. If you're not in with the neighbors, but in winter it can be a bit lonely because no one's out. So, yes.
That's it. Yeah.
But we do have things like streaming services and some internet.
And what are some of the things to look out for should anybody be thinking of going down the same path and buying a countryside property there? Are there any things that people should be aware of?
The most important thing for us is get to know the neighbor before you buy the house, because they can make your life misery if they're not happy. Oh, yes.
They don't like you.
If they don't like you, they can make your life really, really hard. We had more than one example, not just here with us, but we heard about people who just had to give up because it was too horrible.
I know there was a story some 20 years ago, I think, of I don't know whether, I can't remember if they were Dutch or German, but they had a problem, I think, in Galicia. Did you ever hear the story?
Depends on which one that is.
I think it didn't end well for one of the people involved. I think there was a murder involved. I don't know whether.
No, that far. No, that we didn't hear. No.
Well, I don't recommend looking into the story.
No, it's basically what we're saying. Try to have a chat with the neighbors or potential neighbors, see what they say, and usually they appreciate people moving into the area because yes, it brings some money, it brings some other things back in.
Yeah.
They are slightly afraid that one tries to change their ways. So one has to be a little bit careful. I mean, there's a beautiful story of the mosquiteras. When we moved here, we started to put mosquiteras or fly screens into the windows. Yeah. And our neighbors asked why. And we said, well, because we like to have our windows open, even at night. 2 years later, everyone has mosquiteras.
Yeah, but they don't like change, as you said.
No, they don't. No. No, they're afraid, like, this is so rural. We have a lot of cows here. So the cows walk over the Camino and they leave something behind. And you don't go and tell the neighbor you have to clean after the cows. And that's what they're afraid of. When foreigners come, they've heard stories that they want everything clean and they don't like this and they don't like that and they want the people to change. And they won't change. They treated the animals for hundreds of years like they do, and they don't appreciate when you tell them, but you can't do that. That is not good. You have to show them how you treat your animals, and then they see that you're more successful, and then they change. No? But you can't tell them, don't do that, don't do that.
So when it comes to you guys bringing like in tourists into the area, does that cause a bit of conflict sometimes as well, or not?
No, at the moment it's working extremely well because what we do is we have complete houses, so it's not apartments or whatever. We have renovated the houses, so otherwise they would have been ruins and would have fallen down. So that's appreciated. Because we did a lot of the work ourselves, that's also seen by the neighbors, but we also had some locals employed, and so it's a bit give and take. And then they seem to like the people we attract, because it's here you attract people who like nature. You don't see any of the lagerlouts or anything that doesn't happen here.
And we take great care that the people we take in are to our liking, or to the liking of the people here.
We try to pre-filter a little bit, and from how it's announced in certain portals, it gives the impression, okay, it's a bit more nature. So it works well. No, they don't. No,
never had a problem. so far.
That's good. Okay, so the most important thing, try to get on well with the neighbours.
Yes, I would
I
say.
think that's a major thing, and try to get some of the language. That helps enormously, and then it's fine. After that, it's brilliant. We love it. Yeah, it's become, some things become too easy, because if you need a favor, you just ask the neighbor, and yeah, fine.
And you guys, obviously, you don't need to go back to Germany, or you don't. Do you have family still there? Do you need to get out every now and again?
Every now and again, my father still lives in Germany, but at the moment we can't. So normally we go once or twice a year, especially because we do the German Christmas market here as well. We've established 2 years ago a German Christmas market, and we go to Germany to buy some stuff that we put on the market here and things like that. But that is the only reason why we go back.
And no plan to go back in the future?
No, because we've lived outside of Germany now for 35 years or 34 years. So Germany has changed. So it's not the Germany we know when we moved out.
Okay.
So it would be
another change. Yeah.
It would be again a change. Okay, not as major as here, because the language obviously would still be there, but even that changed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It does. I mean, it sounds funny, but after 35 years, there is quite a lot of words you've never heard.
Probably take you a while to learn those new words again. That's right. And yeah, so that's it. All right, good. So it's been great speaking to you guys. You obviously hoping that things get back to normal, I suppose, as soon as possible, and tourists start visiting again.
It should be. I think I like the approach that it is careful managed. Actually, being out here, I don't have any problems with the whole face thing and stuff like that, because I think if it goes like a big wave. So suddenly everyone wants to go to the coast. So that's what we are slightly potentially afraid of, because then it becomes uncontrollable.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest problems, and that's one of the reasons why Madrid has been contained longer, because they know that the first thing people are going to do is get in their cars and go to the coast.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah. So we will see. I think it will recover
slowly.
There will be potentially a second wave in the winter, but we'll see. So we're here for good. So.
That's it. Yes, that's right. All right, great. So it's been good speaking to you guys. And
okay.
We'll keep in contact. If I'm ever up in the area, I'll look you guys up.
Yeah, please do. Drop by and keep doing these videos. I like them. They're quite good.
You like them?
Yeah, they're quite good, and they are to the point. We just watched 1 or 2 of them, so why would you not come to Spain? So yeah, I have no idea why, but okay. Still don't know. So and I think what we said before, like having a job or looking for a job, that's the most complicated bit. So if you're a pensioner, it's easy, it's brilliant, because the health system is brilliant. But working here, not easy, difficult.
No, well, you only have to look at the amount of young Spanish people that have to leave the country to work it out, right? So that's it. If people have to leave a country to find a job, it's going to be hard for somebody coming in to find one. That's right. So that's the way I look at it. But anyway, so thanks a lot, guys. I'll be in contact, and we'll, as I said, we'll keep in touch.
Okay, take care.
All right, good. Ciao. Great speaking to you. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.